everyone. Hope you've had a good conference so far. For those that don't know me, my name's Chris Slater from AFG. I'm hosting, obviously, a pretty awesome session here today. And when I say hosting, very loosely hosting, I'm just going to do the introductions and then hand over to Marissa and Katrina. Just for a bit of background, our session today, Start, Run and Grow. Marissa's going to be interviewing Katrina Rowlands and having a chat about her journey. Bit of background for those of you that don't know Katrina, I've been at AFG 15 years. She's been here longer than me, but in the 15 years I've been here, Katrina's settled over 330, 340 loans minimum every year for those 15 years. Over $2 billion worth of settlements. So if you sort of think about that over 15 years, it's 100 to 140 sort of million every year on year for 15 years. So arguably, probably one of the greatest brokers that's ever been in the AFG network for such a long period of time. Had the pleasure of working with Katrina, her business originally based in Wollongong. I'll let you guys tell the rest of the story. And obviously, for those of you who don't know Marissa runs probably one of our fastest growing broker businesses in South Australia. Started just from basically you and James and built it up to a really fantastic business. So obviously our theme for the rest of the conference is brokers helping brokers, so I'm going to hand over to you, Marissa. And one of the things we are going to do today is if you do want to ask questions, if you've got any questions, my phone number is going to pop up on the big screen, and if you just want to text me your questions, I'll pass them on to Marissa, and her and Katrina can tackle some of those throughout the afternoon. So over to you.
Thanks, Chris. And firstly, I'd like to start by saying it's an honour and a privilege to interview Katrina, someone that I've looked up to for a long time and someone that's a great inspiration in the industry. And we did want to make this session quite casual and interactive, so there is definitely the opportunity to ask questions. That's what it's all about. I've got some questions prepared, but we'd love you to pitch in and send your questions through on the number on the screen, and we'd love to answer them live for you today as well. So I'm going to get straight into it. Katrina, you've been in this industry for over 30 years. I want to take you right back to the beginning and talk about what were your original goals and original aspirations in joining this industry.
Well, I'm so glad I heard from a few earlier speakers that, to be honest, I didn't really set goals when I first started. It was almost an accidental move into mortgage broking. At the time that I was in a corporate world and doing very well in the corporate world, and then I advised my senior management that I was pregnant, not only pregnant, but pregnant with twins. And in their wisdom, they advised me that there's no way on earth I could possibly cope with the stress of management while I had twin daughters, and that it might be a great idea if I stepped back for a little while and then would I retrain the new person coming into the role. And it's the first time in my corporate career I said no. So I took my maternity leave, came into broking, and because that was the beginning, I hadn't actually had my sights set on what achievements I could achieve. But I do know that my whole goal was to not have somebody else set the standards that I could reach, that not someone else to tell me what I could or couldn't achieve, and not to let someone else set my sights on what my happiness could be in a career or how good I possibly could be. So my real goal was to simply give it a go, see what I could do, and keep going until I felt I was achieving my absolute best.
And you've definitely done amazing things, so well done.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you this question because one of the things that I see in the industry is, especially for long-serving brokers, is that it's really easy to lose the passion and the motivation. It's very easy to get a bit jaded. It's hard day in, day out dealing with the bank. Sometimes there's a lot of challenges, and it can be very frustrating. Then you throw in things like GFCs or Royal Commissions, remuneration reviews, and it can become hard to stay passionate and motivated for the things that originally attracted you to broking. You've been mortgage broking for over 25 years, and one of the most passionate people I know about the industry and the clients. How have you maintained your motivation and your passion over 25 years of doing this?
Look, I honestly believe I love what I do. I honestly believe we all make such a difference, and I still make sure I view each individual client and their success and focus on that. So I still get great joy out of seeing each client move into their first home. I still get joy out of the deal that somebody I believe would have been challenged to get set, that through my standing in the industry, or my experience, or my knowledge, or my tenacity, I've got an Irish background, so the Irish stubbornness definitely comes out. But I just think that still, by looking at what we actually achieve by each client, heritage again for me has been a strong thing that made me who I am and continues to make me who I am. One of the other things is look after the pennies and the pounds look after themselves. So I continually focus on each individual client. One of the things that I make sure not only I do, but my team still do, is we look at our customer surveys. So it's incredibly powerful for me to see the surveys where clients then tell us what we have helped them achieve, and to have a comment from somebody that over 25 years we've helped them achieve so much. That continues my passion to feel the responsibility and accountability to continue to help more and more people. So the passion for me is ringing those clients that give that feedback, and I encourage my staff to do it every day. We ring them and we say thank you for encouraging us to keep doing it the way we're doing it, and it gives us a real foundation to keep doing it the way we're doing it.
I guess just as an extension of that question, in the 25-year journey, have you ever wanted to quit?
Oh yeah, for
You know,
sure.
and how,
Gotcha.
what's been have there been times when it's just felt really hard and just a real slog and just not really sure if this is what you want to keep doing? And how, can you tell us about those times and how you sort of got yourself through those to then regain the passion and the motivation that you still have today?
Look, I found the 3 punches we got, and they weren't gentle slaps, they were punches between the GFCs, the Royal Commission, and then COVID. My goodness, is there anything else someone could throw at us? So for me, it was challenging. You almost felt like you were trying to get a message through. I actually went through a period of time thinking, was someone trying to tell me something? Should I be listening? And I'm just not listening, that maybe it is time to call it. But by the same token, I felt so strongly about what the achievement had been of the industry, not just me. I found that the industry has given me so much joy of watching the growth, watching the females come through in the recent years. So I couldn't give up. I couldn't leave on what I felt was a losing streak. I had to prove that I would love to leave this industry, which I feel we're getting through to that now, in a much better state. We're writing 68.5% of the business. How phenomenal. So I take all that personally as well, because I felt like I was a baby in the industry. 25 years here, 20 years in AFG. There was a lot of learnings and a lot of changing over that. So I personally love to see the growth, and I love seeing what the industry is doing. I love hearing the stories of the inspiration of female brokers coming through specifically the last few years, but also every other story I hear. So that passion has maintained me, but there was definitely times where I just thought it was too much. Probably one of my biggest disappointments over the last 5 years was how we were being treated by our partners. And I took that personally.
Yeah.
That I felt for a little while there, the partnership wasn't there, and we were being challenged on our integrity, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So that was probably the thing that knocked me the most. And more than once I reached out to people and had a conversation to say, what can we do? I don't want to leave on this standing. We've got to change it and get it back to what I feel like it is again today.
So would you say it was that real community piece of being able to sort of reach out to others that enabled you to get through those
100%.
Challenging times and get out the other end to still have the passion that you've got today?
100%. For me, I don't know if anyone else felt that yesterday, but when we all turned up at the establishment, other than the poor bar staff having no idea what an AFG dinner is like, but when we all turned up there was a vibe in that room. AFG is a family. I know it sounds really idealistic, but we actually really care about each other, and we want to support each other. And this industry is really different to most in as much as it really does want everybody to do well.
Yeah.
And I felt that again last night. So nights like that, I really love it.
Yeah. I guess moving on to something different now, Katrina, when we've had private chats, we've talked about the progression of your business, and I know that there's been pressure on you at times to reduce your loan writing, maybe even stop being a loan writer and build out the business. And that's not the path that you chose to take. You chose you chose on purpose to be the front face of the business, be the #1 loan writer. Can you talk us through why you made that choice and how that sort of panned out for you?
Look, I'm a total control freak, that's no surprise. But I also know that 90% of what you worry about never happens. So as I was faced with choices of how we grow the business, if we grow the business, there were some challenges there that we actually tried. So where I sit now as still being the main face of the business with a fantastic team of support behind me hasn't happened without trial and error.
Yep.
So we did go through a stage where we took on partners. Was that the best way to go? Would that lessen my workload, allow the business to continue to be as powerful as it was, but without changing quality? That didn't work. So we actually tried that. Then we tried, do we try the other side of the dice? Do we take on a franchise? Is it, the term the banks used, one kitchen, many dining rooms? Can we transfer those skills to a franchise arrangement? We tried that. Then we thought, well, did we try it with the wrong franchise? Then we tried another franchise. So that trial and error of suck it and see, we physically went through those journeys. Actually, the learning was in the doing, and it still brought me back to the definite decision that the way I wanted to run my business was I want it controlled, I want it accurate, I want it efficient, I want it streamlined. I want to allow flexibility to my staff to become the best that they could possibly be. And I really wanted to control that journey to let people know that this is the paradise you can have. So the flexibility in the way I've grown my team is, yes, I am the main person of the business. I'm the authoritarian. But the people in my business, I have people that come in, they work and they can choose then very early in their career with me. I ask them what their aspirations are. What do they see they would like to do? And if the journey is to come in, learn broking and then go out to be self-employed, I allow that pathway. So I've got 5 people that work in my office and run specifically off the in-house leads and lead generation. So the team of administration, client managers work on the core business of the main office. But then there's 5 guys on the road that have been through the journey, and 4 of those people on the road were homegrown. They got to the stage where they wanted to progress. I said, great, fly, be free, but I'm here to protect you and look after you if you need me. So I've got those out on the road that I know they have the reputation, they have the training, they have the quality, they have the backup. They also have the honesty to come to me when there has been a stuff up. So the earlier they come to me with an issue, the faster we fix it, the stronger the learning curve, but I will protect them during that and create a really solid learning curve. So the business now has got the 5 people in the business, which run off me, and the 5 out that still report to me, and it's working beautifully, and so far everyone's happy.
So just to clarify, the 5 people in the business, they're administration support, is that correct? Can you just talk through the structure a little bit more so people understand what it is?
Yes, so really basically I've got a lady that's my receptionist, she's also my maintenance. So if there are non-income producing upfront things to be done, she does them. So variations, substitution of securities, discharges, all those sorts of things. Now she can take that process not only as a maintenance single task, but if it's involved in one of the loan writing processes, she can also support the loan writers themselves. The ones in the office are in transition now to their own accreditations. So the business is definitely going through transition where I won't be here forever. I've got some things that I would love to get involved in and I need to create the capacity to do so. So the goal is that those that are in the office currently, data processing, writing the business, managing the process from first lot of documentation to go out right through the process to completion. But I am constantly in the loop of anything that goes off the rails, it immediately comes to me. Anything that becomes challenging, it immediately comes to me. If there is directional of the clients where they know, so my writers, the guys in the office, client managers, if they know they have a deal that should have gone through peachy keen and there is a road bump, that comes to me and it's a great learning curve. Again, for me, the learning's in the doing. If I have something that goes wrong, my training is sit there while I make the call. So next time you know exactly how I've said it, you know exactly what I've done, you know exactly who I've spoken to. So it's very, very hands-on training, but the 5 in the office work in 2 cells. One's a senior person managing the loan writing as far as processing, and that person has an admin person. So we're kind of segregating this to cells so everyone has a support. The beauty of that for me too is where, my life is pretty full at the moment and I need to be able to do what I need to do. And more as I go forward, I want to be able to keep the business, continue in the industry, but still have what I've worked so hard to have, a life.
Yeah.
So by them doing that, I have rules where they come to me and say, can I take a week off? And my answer is, don't ask me, ask your cell buddy. So as long as they manage their workflow, I can still be in and out of the office as I need to be, manage my own diary and my own time, but every client is still being seen and spoken to no matter who else is in the office or out of the office. And that has allowed me and freed me up to continue and sustain.
Well, speaking of work-life balance, I mean, you're a mum with multiple children.
Yes.
You've raised a family whilst building your broking career. Like Chris said, you consistently write great volumes year after year, and you've a self-proclaimed control freak that wants to be across every single thing that happens. So I'm already seeing the minds of people in the audience tick, thinking, how does she do it all? Like, does she actually ever sleep? How do you manage the work-life balance, and sort of how many hours a week do you work, and how do you make sure that you look after your own health and well-being in that process?
Look, there are a couple of simple rules in our household that we've all kept to. So when we walk in the house, I refer to it as changing hats. So as I leave the office, I take the time to drive whichever home I'm going to at the time, because at the moment I don't know where I live. But I travel from the office to the home, and I physically, like they were referring to earlier today, there's actions that you think, right, now I'm home. One of them is I take my hat off. And I physically, before I walk in the door, go, right, I'm home now, back to family life, back to husband, back to whatever needs to be done. Part of the physical way I do that is as I walk in the door, we've got a table at the very front door. The phone goes down there. So of an evening meal, we've always had a family preference to eat meals together. So even through children going through teenage years, probably the most challenging time, and it wasn't my phone that wasn't being left on the table. But we walk in, phones on the table, we would have a meal together. That kept us in that glue of the family, which helped me with the work-life balance. We had Friday nights, and correct or not, but Friday night's my drinking night. But I used to get clients that would ring, and occasionally I would accidentally answer it. And I remember a client, it was about 7:30 on a Friday night, and it was someone I knew well enough I could say this to. And he rang me and he said, oh, sorry, I know it's Friday night, and I know you're probably off, but I just wanted to check, am I okay to buy a house I see tomorrow? And stupidly I said, mate, you asked me that at 7:30 on a Friday night, buy 3. Because don't take that answer, it's not it. So I do take the time that every so often we just take either a Saturday off, the phone stays down, or a Sunday off, phone stays down. I also do, at the moment, I have got back into being able to really enjoy some really funky hobbies. One of them that I absolutely have fallen in love with is raising micro donkeys. So where I don't know where I live, Wollongong is the office, we've got a property at the Northern Rivers. That has created a lifestyle for me that when I go there, I'm totally different hat. I'm in fluoro, I'm in a farmer's hat, I'm driving a 72-inch zero-turn Hustler mower, I'm in the tractor, whatever needs to be done. And when I walk down and I spend time with the donkeys, there is no phone. I walk down, and that mind release and time release of very tactile, physical work, I love it. And it gives me that total switch off. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell you about the other animals I have because they get weirder.
That's really great advice. And, I remember early in my career taking phone calls on a Sunday night, and, I think, a lot of brokers when they're first starting out, they just have this thing that they just need to be available.
Yeah.
Whenever the clients want them, and the client says jump and you say hi, because if you don't do that, you're just going to miss out on that client.
But there's a little simple thing that I do on that as well. So a lot of it is perception in our mind of what a client expects from us. So if on a weekend I'll take one day or the other where I honestly don't touch the phone. So I thought about it and I thought, well, if I don't answer the phone on a Saturday and somebody has left me a message, but I return the call on a Sunday, do you think that's going to be good enough for them? I think it is. And if I've taken the call on a Saturday and I tell them I'll get back to them on Monday, they're ecstatic that I've taken the call on Saturday and then my Sunday's clear. Or if I get a call and it's a message on a Sunday, if I'm ringing them 9 o'clock Monday morning, clients are ecstatic with that. It was my own perception of what I thought they needed from me to appear to be what they expected from me.
That's right. It's all about setting expectations, isn't it?
On myself as well.
That's right. That actually flows into, we've had a question from the audience about, what advice do you have for brokers that are still early on in their careers and they want to grow further?
Be very proud of what you do. I have some really unusual things that are said to me. One is I had someone say that they would never do business for friends or family. I think that's really weird. They're the best ones to do the first business off. The simple things such as being proud of what you do and telling people what you do, it's amazing how many times I verbalise what I do and 5 minutes later I get a call from somebody who's heard from somebody I've spoken to. Little things that I used to do very early in the career was, and this is a bad example but it's true, our local little bottle shop at Thurrool, they would, occasionally I would ask for a particular bottle of wine and they wouldn't have it, so they could always get it in for me. So they would always ask for your name and number. I never gave them my name and number, I always handed a business card across. And I would walk in there and this on the back of the bottle shop would be my card pinned up on the back board. If I ever took, back in the days when you had to give your name and details for a lay-by or for any account you're opening, I automatically would hand a business card across. Instead of giving my name and number, I would just hand a business card across. If ever I paid an account or I paid school fees or anything like that, anything that needed my name and number, I just automatically handed my business card. The number of people that kept that, and then I would get a phone call randomly, it was amazing. Right down to the local whole food shops that we get at where I've got the donkeys. Obviously, I've got an account there to go buy food. Sometimes it's not in. They say, we'll give you a call. They never write it down correctly. I give them the business card. It's now pinned up in the Norco store, and I just saw that again the other day. It's just a habit I have. So growing the business, be proud of what you do, tell people what you do, and then take it on. And if you find that it's a difficult deal and you don't want to disappoint, then gain some insight from a more qualified or more experienced broker. They will help you. They definitely will help you.
And I guess further on to that, for those that are sort of early on in their journey and they're wanting to build their team, this is another question from the audience. What attributes do you look for in new team members? A question asked for new loan writers, and how do you keep the good ones? But I know you don't have loan writers in your business, but what are the attributes that you look for when you're growing your team and finding the right people?
Look, I love that question because, again, I'm getting so much reinforcement in my own head for this last couple of days. So I hire on attributes, absolutely. I don't hire on past qualifications. In fact, I have a theory that if you've got someone, and again, with full respect with anyone that has this history, this is a generic comment from me, but if I find someone comes across and they've been 20 years in the bank, usually they're pretty bored anyway. I don't know I'm going to get the passion and the power of someone that might already be bored in finance. I would rather have someone that, for example, has an accounting background in, looking after the corner cement store, or someone that has the passion to be a customer service person, or enjoys dealing with people. My number one thing in this industry always has been is respect. Chris will say that, I've said that for years. My number one word is always respect. Second one is you take the people out of the business, and I don't believe you've got a business. So for me, it's so important that the person has personality skills, personality traits, and a team player. One of the first conversations I have with anyone I hire is how do they work in a team? How do they interact? When I interview somebody, I have my team listening, and then I ask them to hear and listen to the way they speak, and do they have any feedback on how they spoke, all the commentary. And it's quite interesting, when I'm so focused on the person and someone is just hearing the words, it's very interesting to hear what they hear that I maybe didn't in the first case. So it's all, for me, personality, people person, ability to learn, eagerness to learn, and fresh can-do attitude.
Yeah. And another question from the floor, which flows on nicely from that, is how did you know when the right time was to scale? How did you know when the right time? I know there's probably lots of people in the audience that are trying to decide, do they take on admin support or do they increase their level of admin support? How do you know when it's the right time to recruit your next addition?
I think I left it too long. 14-hour days, 7 days a week with twins and 2 children, I left it too long. I should have scaled earlier. So I knew when to scale was when volume dictated. I could not keep up with it. I started to disappoint myself with my quality of service, my timeliness, and when I started to disappoint myself, that wasn't a happy place. To try to then hire somebody, it was a catch-up.
Yeah.
What I do now is, it sounds silly and it's a privilege of where I'm up to, I try to be prepared for the next change in staffing. So it's one of the biggest challenges of the team now is when you've got 10 people that you're working with and 4, there's always movement.
Yes.
I have accepted that every 3 to 4 years, it'll be shuffled again. And that's okay. I know it's going to happen. So I'd rather, as I start to feel any movement, and I pride myself on being able to feel that. I feel a change in attitude or a change in dynamics in the office and I can feel it. I try to hire early so I can at least have a 3 to 6 month changeover of maybe the person that wants to progress and train that next person up. So that progression goes with pat on the back, wishing you all the best because you've done the right thing by the business. The new person has had the time to feel like they've got a chance to be valuable and don't feel like they've been thrown in it head first. But if you can do that transition, that's with the larger team. If you're a single broker, it's a little bit of build it and they will come.
Definitely.
If you create the capacity by having someone delegated the duties, challenge is learning to delegate. It's a big piece that I'm working on in my office right now is learning to delegate. But if you can delegate those activities, you will write more business. It's chicken before the egg, egg before the chicken. If you feel and are thinking about it, my advice is do it now because you will then make it work. You will make it happen. So as soon as you're thinking about it, start the journey, get someone in.
Absolutely, because it takes time to develop them into the way that you want them to operate in your business. And it takes time to find the right person as well.
Yes.
So I definitely agree with your comment about not waiting until you're desperate to
that's when you
bring
make
someone in,
mistakes.
because that's when you actually don't have time to train them.
Or hire correctly.
That's right.
You'll take someone that's not the right fit, but you'll take them because there's this urgency and panic that you need someone right now, and that's not good.
Absolutely. We're getting lots of great questions from the floor. So you mentioned customer service, and I know that you're very particular about the customer experience that your customers have, and that's why you've had customers that have been with you for decades. But given that you write such large loan volumes and that you're the broker, you're the front-facing broker, how do you make each and every client feel so special when you've got so many clients to deal with?
It's really great. As I said, very specialised with the team that I've got. We have regular meetings and we talk about successes and failures. So we template some of our responses so we understand when a client is asking something. Great question right now is, should I fix what I do? Why should I fix? Why should I stay variable? So my guys often say, give us the Katrina speak. There are certain answers I give that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I know it's all bland stuff, but it's true. So they'll hear me explain something to a client and they'll try to replicate that and they'll think, I just can't get it. So if there's a conversation piece, I try to preempt changes in the industry. And I will do a little script template and I'll say, if clients are asking these questions, ask a little bit more first, get them to talk a little bit more, and then really understand what they're asking. Where is their fear factor?
Staff.
Correct. So I get them to really delve into what the client is actually wanting comfort around, because that's what it is. The client is saying, tell me why I shouldn't be scared shitless. Tell me why I can feel comfortable in what my decision is and tell me why I'm making the decision. So I'll template up and do a little script of this is what they're actually, so ask these key questions and then drop out boxes of what that actually is leading to. So I find that my team now, even if they ring and say, I want to speak to Katrina, they've got ways of managing that. If Katrina's not in the office right now, but she will not want you to be left waiting. She would not like us to not attend to your needs right now. She definitely will be in touch with you, but can we please help you right now so that we can immediately let Katrina know you've been worked with and serviced? Who's going to say no? So the client will then open up and say, well, okay, this is what I need. I make sure that they then take that on. So again, empowering them back with transitioning more out of the face-to-face, by me letting them ask those more questions, they start to understand the client journey more. They'll start to buy into the individual client. The individual client will start to, when they ring back, Katrina's not here, but, oh, can I have Emerald? They'll take that secondary and then build that trust and relationship. So they know there is always somebody there that wants to know their story or knows their story. Part of our lead-in right now is when a client rings up, reception will say, you know, this is Mortgage Success, how can we help you? They'll tell the story and they'll immediately get client information forms out to them and have them back. Immediately somebody rings them to welcome them to the company, reiterate what their questions might be, and then confirm a timeline we'll get back to them. So immediately they're getting attention by more than just me. If the client definitely wants me, I'll tell them they're going to get me and a client manager.
Yeah.
Between me and the client manager, you're going to have someone you can talk to anytime you ring this office.
Once again, it comes down to how you position it with them.
Correct.
And seeing it as a value to the client rather than, you know,
and not make them feel it was a handoff. You know,
That's
if
right,
I'm telling them
exactly.
this is how we manage it, we make sure you have two people to look after you. You get me, absolutely. My experience, my acumen, and my, you know, empowerment. But you've actually got a full-time client manager as well. There's no negative to that.
So we've got about 3 minutes left and we've got heaps of questions. We're not going to get through them all, but there's been quite a few questions that have come through about marketing and leads. So there's been questions about whether you have particular niches that you focus on or whether you cater for everybody, questions about referral partnerships, whether you advertise on social. So can you just spend a couple of minutes talking about what you do in terms of marketing and lead gen?
Certainly.
And any business relationships that you formed?
Certainly. Well, I'm very proud of the fact.
Can you also just talk about in the early days as well? Because
Yes.
you've got such a big book now. Like, obviously some of the questions about,
beginning.
I want to grow more customers.
Yeah, maybe how that's evolved over your journey as well.
Yeah.
Look, I've also always been very involved in the community. So part of the joy of, you know, the early days was I've always been involved in the community charity sectors, which also has been a wonderful foundation of reputation of the business and myself personally. I've never ever paid for business, which I'm very proud of. The referral networks, I make sure it's as diverse a network as I possibly can get. So I understand some people love the fact that they've got a relationship with a real estate network. I love the fact that I've got real estate agents, family law, other solicitors, accountants, current clients. Definitely current clients are the best database. So in our very first early days, we would do a very regular email out simply to our database. A personal, hi, this is Katrina's note, just giving you an update of what's happening in the market. If there's anyone else you think I could help or anything that I could support you with, if you would just like a discussion, if you just want to chat about something, inevitably it leads to a lead. So that's very basic, no matter how many people you have on your database, by you doing that one-on-one information and advice out, inviting a conversation back in, you will get leads, straight up. Marketing is something I've been very fortunate. We haven't had to advertise for nearly 8 years. Every time I go to, my staff threaten to leave because they say it's going to be ridiculous if we advertise. But I do keep a Wirral watch on new business versus returning business. Early next year might be the first time in a long time I target first home buyers because I love working with first home buyers. So that's certainly a target area we will look at next year with a campaign.
Excellent. And given that you are the main facing broker and there are not any other brokers within your immediate team, keen for you to spend a very short amount of time on what your succession plan is and what the future plans are for you, and then wrap it up with some final words of wisdom for the audience, please.
Certainly. So my succession plan was one of the longest in the industry. My gorgeous daughter, Emerald, is now coming up 25 years old. She will be the owner and leader of Mortgage Success in the future years. She will become the managing director, so one of the longest succession plans ever in place, but also with a team of supporting staff that will be able to work with her and continue that journey. Now, that's not to say that's how Mortgage Success will always stay, because it's always been dynamic and will always be dynamic. But to create the flexibility for people to become and be the best they can be personally within the business will still be a key focus of the momentum of the business, and I'm sure she'll carry that on beautifully. As far as words of advice, start as you mean to finish. Really think about what you want to achieve, but achieve each day as it comes, and don't be afraid to take that next step. The biggest work we've done with some of the winning women is get the new office, have confidence to build it, get the new staff member and make it worth it. So understand what your capability is and let yourself be the best you can possibly be, because no one can limit that except you.